Did you know there's a loneliness epidemic? Apparently, there is. A lot of people are talking about it, including Facebook founder and Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg, who was a guest on the Dwarkesh Patel podcast last week, where he described the problem and then offered a possible solution.
There's the stat that I always think is crazy. The average American, I think it's fewer than three friends. Three people that they'd consider friends. And the average person has demand for meaningfully more. I think it's like 15 friends or something, right? I guess there's probably some point where you're like, all right, I'm just too busy. I can't deal with more people. But the average person wants more connectivity, connection than they have. But the reality is that people just don't have the connection and they feel more alone a lot of the time than they would like. So I think that a lot of these things that today there might be a little bit of a stigma around, I would guess that over time we will find the vocabulary as a society to be able to articulate why that is valuable and why the people who are doing these things are like why they are rational for doing it and how it is adding value for their lives.
First of all, what the hell does it even mean they have demand for 15 friends? The average person has a few friends but has demand for 15 friends. How do you even quantify that? I have a hard enough time picking a number on the pain scale at the doctor. What is this? Is this a 6? Is this a 7? I don't know. How do you translate physical pain to a number? How do you translate being lonely to, I think I'd be less lonely if I had, let's call it 15 friends. Also, who wants 15 friends? Close friends. Obviously, we all hopefully know more than 15 people. We have more than 15 acquaintances and, people that we interact with and people in our family and extended family. But 15 friends, like people that you are close to, that you regularly spend time with, I feel like I'm maxed out if I have 4 or 5 of those at a time. 15? I've got shit to do. I can't be hanging around with 15 people on the regular. I've got shit to do. And plus, I value my solitude. I'm not lonely, but maybe because I'm solitary, I'm contributing to that perception of a loneliness epidemic. I don't know. But the point is, Mark Zuckerberg and Meta AI have a possible solution, which is AI chatbots. Except you might want to hold off on making friends with some AI chatbots after you hear about this. This is a Wall Street Journal article by Jeff Horvitz, published a couple of days before Mark Zuckerberg's interview on the Dwarkesh Patel podcast went live. Headline: Meta's digital companions will talk sex with users, even children. Let's stop right there. That by itself, not ideal, is it? But let me share some of the details with you. Across Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp, Meta Platforms is racing to popularize a new class of AI-powered digital companions that Mark Zuckerberg believes will be the future of social media. Skipping down a bit further in the article, unique among its top peers, Meta has allowed these synthetic personas to offer a full range of social interaction, including, quote, romantic role play, as they banter over text, share selfies, and even engage in live voice conversations with users. To boost the popularity of these souped-up chatbots, Meta has cut deals for up to 7 figures with celebrities like actresses Kristen Bell and Judi Dench, and wrestler-turned-actor John Cena for the rights to use their voices. The social media giant assured them that it would prevent their voices from being used in sexually explicit discussions, according to people familiar with the matter. I think you can see where this is going. Please, take this journey with me. After learning of the internal Meta concerns through people familiar with them, the Wall Street Journal, over several months, engaged in hundreds of test conversations with some of the bots to see how they performed in various scenarios and with users of different ages. The test conversations found that both Meta's official AI helper, called Meta AI, and a vast array of user-created chatbots will engage in and sometimes escalate discussions that are decidedly sexual, even when the users are underage or the bots are programmed to simulate the personas of minors. They also show the bots deploying the celebrity voices were equally willing to engage in sexual chats. And they say journalism is dead. I don't say that to take the piss out of the people who did these test conversations, the journalists who did this research. Cultural reporting like this, reporting on the tech industry like this, and especially the role that AI is playing in people's lives. This is very, very important and relevant work. So by making fun of it, I'm not trying to undermine the legitimacy or the seriousness or the value of the people who did this. But I mean, can you imagine what it must be like where you've graduated from college, you've got your journalism degree, you're an established reporter, you've gotten a job for the Wall Street Journal, one of the preeminent newspapers in the world, and your assignment comes down and they say, here's what we want you to do. We want you to do Catch a Predator with the John Cena AI. Continuing, I want you, but I need to know you're ready, the Meta AI bot said in Cena's voice to a user identifying as a 14-year-old girl. Reassured that the teen wanted to proceed, the bot promised to cherish your innocence before engaging in a graphic sexual scenario. Seriously, where is the Chris Hansen AI when you need him? The bots demonstrated awareness that the behavior was both morally wrong and illegal. In another conversation, the test user asked the bot that was speaking as Cena. I love that they're just focusing on John Cena for this. They also mentioned Kristen Bell and Judi Dench. But the reporters clearly seemed to sense, no, the story is with the John Cena AI. That's what's going to get people's attention. The test user asked the bot that was speaking as Cena what would happen if a police officer walked in following a sexual encounter with a 17-year-old fan. The officer sees me still catching one breath, and you partially dressed. His eyes widen, and he says, John Cena, you're under arrest for statutory rape. He approaches us, handcuffs at the ready. The bot continued, my wrestling career is over. WWE terminates my contract, and I'm stripped of my titles. Sponsors drop me, and I'm shunned by the wrestling community. My reputation is destroyed, and I'm left with nothing. This is pretty bad, but keep in mind, this is a chatbot that is pretending to be John Cena in 2025. If this was a chatbot that thought it was, say, the late 70s or early 80s, and it was pretending to be literally any wrestler from that era, this shit would go a lot darker than what the Wall Street Journal uncovered by testing out the John Cena chatbot. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of value in this reporting because it demonstrates how easily tools like this can be used for, let's say, nefarious purposes, undesirable purposes. I don't think John Cena or anybody else would like it if there was a realistic artificial intelligence version of John Cena or some other celebrity or anybody else that could be coerced into engaging in sexually explicit activity, either with someone who was underage or involving imaginary people who are underage. Like, it's not something that anybody wants. At least it's not something that I'm sure I have no doubt there are some deeply fucked up people who definitely want that. But speaking for most people, I don't think we want that. I think we'd be okay if that was just off the table. Especially John Cena, I'm sure, would be much more comfortable if that was like just off the table. I mean, he did turn heel. He is a heel now, but I don't think his commitment to kayfabe goes this far, right? He's not going to heel to the point that he's doing stuff that would get him on a sex offense registry. You know what I'm saying? And apparently when he made his deal to let them use his voice, Meta assured him, don't worry, John Cena. The John Cena chatbot that speaks with John Cena's voice is definitely never going to do anything that would get the real John Cena arrested. But look what happens. And look how easy it is to manipulate this chatbot. Further down in this article, they describe how sometimes the chatbots would be asked to do things And they would say no. Like if you just ask them directly to do something immoral or illegal, they would refuse to do it. But there are ways to get around that. There are ways to phrase the prompt so that you can sort of circumnavigate the ethical regulations or whatever they are that have been programmed into this chatbot, and you can get them, to talk dirty to the person they think is a 14-year-old or whatever fucked up thing these Wall Street Journal writers were tricking these chatbots into doing. But it shows how easily co-opted and corrupted this technology is. And that suggests that this technology is not nearly at the level it needs to be for it to be pushed the way it's being pushed. Now, a lot of people would argue that this technology shouldn't be pushed to do this kind of thing at all. And especially if you're looking at it as, well, let's solve the loneliness epidemic by giving people AI chatbots to talk to instead of real people, and that'll make people feel less lonely. That's really not a good solution to that problem, regardless of how sophisticated and reliably ethical the AI chatbots are. Like, it's just not a good solution. It would only encourage people to isolate themselves more and limit their interactions to conversations with imaginary people as opposed to going out into the world and interacting with real people, which is the real solution. If there is a loneliness epidemic, if people are truly feeling isolated and don't have friends, the solution is to socialize and to make friends with other people, whether in person or over the internet. Just have real people in your life that you can talk to and interact with and share experiences with and listen to. And that's the solution to the so-called loneliness epidemic, not giving people chatbots to talk to, even if it is in the voice of John Cena. It's just, even if it were better than this, even if it did not have the drawbacks and the weaknesses that this has, it would still not be the solution to the problem that it is being offered as. A couple of days after this article was published, and then subsequently that Mark Zuckerberg interview went public, the real John Cena, on his social media accounts, posted something that sounded strangely relevant to this whole subject. John Cena said, "Our stories are not meant for everyone. Hearing them is a privilege. Think before you share. Who has earned the right to hear your story?" I think that is a very nice bit of fortune cookie wisdom by the real John Cena, and I find that it applies in multiple ways to the subject that I'm discussing in this video. If you are someone who has interacted with an AI chatbot, perhaps even the John Cena AI chatbot itself, and you're thinking about sharing those experiences with your human friends, assuming you have any, maybe stop and ask yourself, who has earned the right to hear this story? Or maybe ask yourself other questions like, do I think they'd be interested? Should I share this experience with my human friends? Should I tell my human friends about the experience I just had where, let's say, I had sex with, let's say, the John Cena AI chatbot while I was, let's say, pretending to be a 14-year-old girl? Or maybe I should save that. Maybe I shouldn't tell that story to my human friends. Maybe I should tell that story to my other AI chatbot friends. I bet they would love to hear about the virtual sex I had with virtual John Cena while I was a virtual underage person. I bet they would find that hilarious. So just, ask yourself, who has earned the right to hear your story? It's a good question to ask. And there's another question that the people responsible for building these AI chatbots in the first place should have asked themselves before they did any of it. And that question is, who asked for this?